What if I told you the French Revolution was not just a story of freedom, equality and brotherhood, but a storm that unleashed terror across an entire nation? Imagine thunder cracking over Paris as hope turned to dread and the streets ran red with fear. Behind the slogans and the cries for liberty there lurked blood, torture and nightmares too horrific for any classroom. Ordinary citizens became executioners, neighbours turned on neighbours, the air itself seemed thick with suspicion and dread. Tonight we rip away the veil on the reign of terror. We'll expose 5 gruesome truths, secrets buried for centuries, horrors you were never meant to know. Are you ready to face the darkness that history tried to forget? This is the true face of the revolution. Welcome to the terror. The guillotine was advertised as swift and merciful, a humane end for the condemned. But as the blade gleamed in the sunlight, it became a stage for terror. The square filled with thousands, some trembling, others eager for blood. Vendors hawked pastries and wine as if it were a festival, while children perched on shoulders for a better view. As the blade fell, a roar erupted, cheers, gasps and even laughter. Some fainted at the sight, while others jostled for a closer look at the severed heads. The air was thick with the scent of sweat and fear. Some spectators wept, haunted by what they saw, while others demanded encore after encore, addicted to the violence. Executioners slapped severed faces, and witnesses swore their heads blinked, grimaced, or even tried to speak. After death. Some left the square forever changed, unable to sleep for weeks. But for many the spectacle became routine, a daily ritual of horror. Empty chairs marked the absence of those lost, yet the crowds kept coming, hungry for more. The guillotine's shadow stretched over Paris, leaving scars on the minds of all who watched, executioners, witnesses and even the city itself. In the city of Nantes, the revolution's violence took a chilling new form. Thousands of prisoners, men, women, even children, were not led to the guillotine, but to the riverbanks at night. Entire barges were packed with the condemned, their hands bound behind their backs. Soldiers forced them aboard, ignoring desperate pleas and prayers. Once the boats reached the middle of the Loire River, hatches were sealed or holes were cut and the vessels were deliberately sunk, sending everyone aboard to a watery grave. Screams echoed across the water, then faded into silence as the river claimed its victims. The dead floated downstream for days, their bodies washing up on the banks and terrifying entire villages. Some called it Republican baptism, a twisted name for what was, in truth, mass murder on an unimaginable scale. Survivors and witnesses were haunted for life, describing the river as cursed, forever stained by the cries of the innocent. The drownings of Nantes remain one of the revolution's darkest secrets, a horror that still chills the soul. The revolution's thirst for vengeance went far beyond the guillotine. For some, death was not enough. There had to be a mark, a trophy, a reminder of justice gone mad. Chilling rumours spread that the skin of the executed was stripped and tanned, then fashioned into gloves, belts and even the covers of books. Macabre keepsakes for the powerful and the curious. The process was whispered about in hushed tones, bodies flayed in secret, the skin carefully prepared by skilled hands, transformed into objects that looked ordinary until you knew their origin. Imagine a pair of elegant gloves, soft to the touch, or a book with a smooth, pale cover, each one a silent witness to the terror, each one once part of a living person. The psychological horror was profound. To hold such a relic was to confront the thin line between justice and monstrosity, to feel the revolution's violence pressed into your own hands. These gruesome souvenirs became symbols of fear and power, reminders that in the reign of terror, humanity itself could be skinned away, leaving only darkness behind. In the Vendée uprising, revolutionary soldiers swept through the countryside, burning villages and slaughtering entire communities, men, women and children alike. Driven by fear of royalist rebellion, the revolutionaries unleashed a campaign of terror. Mass executions, homes torched, and fields salted to prevent survivors from returning. Survivors told of bodies left unburied, of families forced to watch loved ones perish, and of atrocities so horrific that even some revolutionaries recoiled in horror. Some swore bodies were roasted, fat boiled into candles and soap, a descent into barbarism so disturbing it was buried under centuries of silence. In the aftermath, the Vendée was left a wasteland, fields barren, villages empty, and a scar on the nation's soul that endures to this day. The memory of the Vendée atrocities stands as a chilling warning of what happens when ideology turns to vengeance and humanity is lost in the flames of war. As the reign of terror spiraled out of control, Robespierre, once the architect of revolution, became its next victim. Dragged from the Hôtel de Ville, his jaw shattered by a bullet, he was a broken man, blood soaking his clothes. Through the night, he lay on a table, unable to speak, his face twisted in agony. Guards and former allies stared in horror, some jeering, others silent, as the once feared leader trembled and bled. At dawn, Robespierre was hauled to the scaffold. The crowd pressed in, eager to witness the fall of the man who had sent so many to their deaths. His bandaged jaw hung loose, his eyes wild with pain and terror. When the executioner ripped away the bandage, Robespierre let out a guttural scream, his final sound before the blade fell. The crowd erupted, some in relief, others in horror, as the terror claimed its last, most infamous victim. In that moment, the revolution devoured its own creator. Silence fell, broken only by the whispers of those who wondered if the nightmare was truly over. The blade was still, but the echoes of Robespierre's terror lingered in every haunted face. The French Revolution promised liberty, equality, and fraternity. But its darkest chapter, the Reign of Terror, revealed how ideals can be twisted by fear and vengeance. The blood spilled, and the cries of the innocent echo through history, reminding us that the pursuit of justice can become its own kind of nightmare. The revolution's legacy is a warning. Freedom is precious, but when hope turns to terror, the cost is measured in lives, and the scars never truly fade. Follow us for more fascinating war history. Thanks for watching.